1,000 juras. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? Oh my God, she wants 1,000,000 now. Yo, YouTube, what's good? It's your boy Kari here, back again with another video for y'all. So today I'm gonna be talking about inflation, guys. All around the world, we have been seeing prices skyrocket, and Colombia is not an exception to that. So Colombia actually has some of the worst inflation that any country has been facing in the last 6 months. And today I'm gonna kind of break it down and talk to you about what's going on in Colombia. What's the situation like? How much have prices increased, and for what things are prices increasing? And also, I'm gonna give you a little bit of perspective and show you some data from around the world that will, also help us understand how Colombia fits into the grand scheme of things, as well as we'll take a look at American data and see where America is in terms of inflation. And there's a couple other factors I want to throw in. So if you haven't liked this video yet, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. And holler at your boy on Instagram at kari.hq, okay? So, I started coming to Colombia in 2016, right? At that time, the exchange rate was 2,700 Colombian pesos for $1. Currently, we've almost doubled that. Right now, we are at 5,000 Colombian pesos for $1. So, that's one thing that's technically working in favor of us gringos or Americans or whatever you want to call people that make money in a dollar, make dollars, if you will. So, that's one thing to keep in mind, but that doesn't mean that for us, things have not become more expensive, those that make dollars, right? Because even in Colombia, man, people have caught on and they're starting to raise the prices of everything. For example, those of you that travel here frequently and have been doing so for many years, you've probably noticed that your accommodations have really risen in cost, from Airbnbs to hotels. I will say some of the food has risen in cost as well at some restaurants. I can call out one, La Mal Sentada, which is one of my favorite Mexican restaurants. They have like doubled the prices of their margaritas. Anyone else that ever went there for many years can testify to that. But that's neither here nor there. On a more serious note, services are going up, the price of goods, the price of groceries, the price of cars, motorcycles, everything is going up. Technology is going up. So today I just want to take a look at some of the data that we can kind of look at to get a feel for how Colombia fits into the grand scheme of things, and show you guys and tell you my thoughts, and maybe give you some pointers on what you should be doing to hedge against this inflation, and some tips towards the end that I'll share with you. All right, guys, so with no further ado, let's hop into this data. So here you can see the article I found. It's not really an article, but just, kind of a quick sum up of what's been going on in Colombia. So I'm gonna read this to you. The annual inflation rate in Colombia accelerated for the 7th straight month to 13.12% in December of 2022, above market expectations of 12.64%. This was the highest inflation reading since March of 1999, amid a generalized increase in prices of goods and services. Main upward pressure came from food and non-alcoholic beverages, 27.8% versus 27.1% in November. Restaurants and hotels, 18.54% versus 16.84%. Furnishings and household equipment, 18.25% versus 17.33%. Miscellaneous goods and services, 13.09 versus 12.20%. Transportation, 11.59% versus 11.19%. And clothing and footwear, 11.22% versus 10.11%. On a monthly basis, consumer prices increased by 1.26%, up from a 0.77 rise in November, topping the market estimates of a 0.87 increase. So as you can see by this data here, we in Colombia specifically are experiencing inflation at a very high rate, higher than what economic experts have projected, which is a little bit scary. So I'm gonna scroll down a little bit here and we can look at this graph, right? And this graph shows us over the last year. This is a 12-month graph, it looks like. So each one of these bars represents a month, and pretty much every single month, the rate of inflation has increased except for April going into May, where we saw a small decrease there. But, month over month, we have been seeing some intense inflation here in Colombia. And, these are the hard numbers to kind of prove it for anyone that's been doubting that. I haven't been doubting it because I've been feeling it quite a bit. All right, guys, so I also want to show you a look at the world in the grand scheme of things. So take a look at this map here that shows inflation. It's a colored map, so the darker the colors, the more inflation. So let me just zoom in a little bit for you guys so you can look and see a little bit better. Okay, so let's start with the USA. Most of you guys are familiar with the USA that watch my channel. So we are ranked 120th in the world in terms of inflation. We're at 7.1%. We got a pink color going on our country. But if we go down to Colombia, man, they are definitely a tad bit redder than we are. And as we mentioned before, their inflation is at 13.12%. And that ranks 52nd in the world, okay? You can also see some pretty bad inflation going on in places like the United Kingdom. If you paid attention to the pound, I've seen the pound has dropped a lot in value. So they are they're between Colombia and the US, a little bit closer to Colombia, but not as bad as Colombia. Let's just do an African country. So Ghana is ranked 10th, very close to Colombia. I'm sorry, not close to Colombia at all. That's massive inflation, actually. So yeah, we can see this happening all across the world. Sudan, Zimbabwe ranks number 1. Zimbabwe has seen 243% inflation. That's insane. I don't even want to know what that's like. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys this graph so you could get a sense of what's going on in Colombia. Maybe if you notice that the prices have went up a little bit. There's some countries here in South America like Bolivia and Ecuador that are doing pretty good. They have not seen a massive inflation. But hey, I live in Colombia, so it doesn't really help me with what's going on in Bolivia and whatnot. Anyway, here is the data. This is the cold hard data here, guys. All right, guys, so that's just a look at the data. Let me break this down to you to what it actually feels like for someone that's living here in Colombia. For me, I'm gonna call out 3 things where I could talk about the price and how it's increased over the last 6 months. So the first thing I wanna bring up is a haircut, which I haven't had one in a while. It's not because of the price and the inflation. It's because my barber, she was supposed to cut my hair, but she canceled yesterday. So anyway, haircut at the barber, because I talked to her the other day. She was saying that the prices have went up from 25 mil Colombian pesos, which is about $5, okay? Has went up to 30 mil, so about $6. Now, I know you guys in the States are like, whoa, buddy, that's not inflation. Yeah, it is. For Colombia, it is. That is what? I don't know, 10%? That is certainly inflation for Colombia and Colombians, especially if you've been making pesos. So for you guys that make dollars, maybe it doesn't affect you as much, or maybe you don't feel it as much, but trust me, man, the Colombian people feel this inflation real bad. Okay, so yeah, and this change happened at the barbershop. They did it from 2022 to 2023. So if you had got your haircut on December 31st, you would have paid 25 mil. And if you got it done on the 1st of January, 2023, you're gonna pay 30 mil, okay? So that's the first example, okay? And that's a small thing, but it's a service here in Colombia, a service that I like to use. I love getting my hair cut as much as I can and much as I have time for it, right? And the patience for it, because you gotta go there and get it done, and you gotta wash your hair and all that stuff. But anyway, I like getting my hair cut, man. And I've always been consistent with that in Colombia, and that's not gonna change over $1, obviously. But for a Colombian or something, you know, someone that doesn't have a big budget to play with, that could be major, right? So let's talk about another thing that has gone up recently. So I like to get my nails done, right? I go to a salon. It's actually in Santa Fe Mall. Maybe some of you guys have been there. Imagine 360, right? Anyway, the price for a mani and pedi there used to be 46 mil Colombian pesos, right? As of November 1st and on, they have changed the price to 60 mil Colombian pesos. For me, not a big deal. Again, we're going from, you know, around $10 to around $12, right? So not a big deal. But, you know, for the Colombians, it is a bigger deal. And I actually know the owner of that salon, and she told me that for a lot of Colombians, they did say something about the change. Obviously, most gringos didn't even say anything or notice anything, she told me. But a lot of the Colombians did notice and say something. But business is still good. So the good thing about this inflation thing is that it usually happens across the board. So if you're a business owner, you're probably not the only one that's having to raise prices, right? It's really geared towards making us, the consumers, spend less money. So yeah, if you could find something cheaper, but if the price of everything goes up at the same time, then you're either gonna save that money, right? Or you're gonna have to spend more. And so you'll have less money to spend on something else. And that's how inflation works. Again, guys, the whole idea of this inflation thing is to slow down spending, right? And by raising the price of everything is a great way to slow down spending. Now, let me give you the third example of things that have gone up recently here in Colombia. So I am in the process of buying a motorcycle, right? When I started this process, I went in November to talk to the guy at the dealer. He quoted me a price for the motorcycle I wanted, around 22 million Colombian pesos. That is a little south of $5,000, so about $4,500, somewhere in there, depending on the day and the exchange rate. Okay, now I've been waiting for this motorcycle because it's sold out. And the way things work in America, if let's say a dealer or a store doesn't have something that you want and it's sold out, you can pay today's price, and whenever they get it in stock, it's yours. No, in Colombia, it doesn't work like that. In Colombia, you can put down a deposit to get your place in line, but as the price goes up, you are subject to that price increase. So when your item does arrive, in my case, a motorcycle, I'm gonna have to pay the price of that day. I don't get to pay the price that the motorcycle was on the day I left my deposit, which is, to me, is horrible. And you know, I've checked with various different dealerships around Colombia on this, and that's just the way things work. But anyway, the motorcycle that was 22 million, guess how much it is now? 26 million pesos. So guys, that for me, that's almost $1,000 that has went up, right? Thank God that at the same time, the value of the dollar has gone up as well. So that is working in my favor a little bit. So, you know, but still, imagine if you're a Colombian person and you did not make any dollars and all your income was in pesos. That's tough. That's a $4 million peso increase in I'm telling you guys, in a matter of about 2 months. Like I said, I started talking to the guy about this motorcycle in November, and he's not joking. Like, it's not him. I went to the Yamaha website, and on their website, I saw the price going up as well. So it's not the dealership. You know, at first, of course, I was upset with them, but I went to other dealerships and they all said the same thing. And that's just the way things work here in Colombia. But this is how inflation is in Colombia. Prices are changing every single day. It's like out of control, guys. I mean, I know it's happening in the States, but at least in the States, it's a little bit more controlled. It's not as crazy as it is here. I mean, the price of everything, you just don't know what to expect, right? And I'm afraid about this one thing, guys. As long as spending is still high, this trend is going to continue. And for a lot of people, Colombia is looked at as a cheap place to go, and it's a vacation spot. So naturally, Colombia has a lot of tourism, and the people that come here for tourism always are in the mindset of like, damn, everything's cheap, because they're coming from a place like America, they're coming from a place like the UK or Europe or whatnot, or Dubai, things like that. So to them, it is cheap, but they haven't seen that progression of things going up. So they don't know how cheap it was, right? And so they're still gonna spend that money. And so, you know, it's gonna be a little bit harder to slow down the spending in Colombia because of tourism. People are gonna spend money on tourism all the time. So, you know, that's just a little hard to slow down. Now, you may be asking yourself, are we the next Argentina? Are we the next Venezuela? Colombia, that is. Is Colombia the next Venezuela? Is Colombia the next Argentina? No. I'm gonna tell you why. Colombia is not gonna end up in that situation with the currency is valueless because of things like tourism, because of things like their technology industry, their textile industry, the oil industry. Colombia has a lot to offer. Colombia has, you know, it's a very stable country for Latin America. You know, speaking relative to Latin America, if we compare it to the United States, one would say it's not stable. But when we look at, you know, compare apples to apples, it is a pretty stable country. One of the most stable in Latin America. And it has a large population. And again, they have many different industries that they participate in and do well in. So I don't think Colombia is going to be the next Venezuela or Argentina. Now we do have some socio-economic issues here in Colombia, some political issues in Colombia, and some things that are happening in Colombia. But like I said, I don't foresee that we're gonna go, you know, that we're gonna tank down to, you know, the bottom. I just can't fathom that here. Colombia has too much to offer. If that did happen, then me being American, I would buy up as much shit as I could. You know, it's like Colombia would be on a flash sale. Let's say the Colombian peso went to 10,000 tomorrow. Man, I would buy everything instantly. So, you know, they could only tank so far before people come in and start spending money here, because people know Colombia's value, especially people in America and people that like to come here and visit. They know what's up. And if they have the opportunity to get a 50% discount on everything they buy because the Colombian peso has tanked down so bad, trust me, they'll do that. So no, I don't see Colombia becoming in a dire situation, because I believe there's a bottom to the fall, right? So with all this, you know, what can you do? What are some things that you should be doing to protect yourself and kind of prepare for what's to come? Because I don't see this inflation slowing down at least till, let's say, like fall of 2023. I think we're going to be in an inflationary period all through winter, spring, and summer, to be honest. Just because There was a lot of damage done to the world economy through the pandemic, right? With all the raising prices, with all the supply chain shortages, and et cetera, et cetera. So you should be saving cash. You should be trying to hold on to as much cash as you can, right? That's the most important thing right now. And I know your cash is becoming worthless, technically. If you can put it into something like gold, even better. If you can put it into an asset like, silver, gold, these assets that are commodities, right? Then that's great, because those tend to hold their value a lot better. For me, I'm buying a lot of stock because the US stock market and most of the companies there have been dropping in value dramatically. Tesla is down tremendously. Apple is down tremendously at the making of this video, of course. So to me, as an investor, I look at that as a flash sale. I'm gonna go in and grab me a couple shares, So that comes with its own tax implications. So, make sure you're planning all of the tax ramifications into your stock buying and things like that if you plan to sell rather fast. But for me, I'm a long-term investor, so it's great for me to see these prices because I know a lot of these companies are great companies, right? You don't want to be financing anything right now. Listen to me again. You don't want to be financing anything right now. If you have credit card debt, pay it off ASAP, okay? Because those are the killers, man. You go buy a car and, with interest rates the way they are today, then, you're gonna be paying almost double for that car. And, this isn't really a Colombia specific thing. I'm talking really to the expats here, but yeah, you don't want to be financing anything. If you have credit card debt, pay it off, because most of the credit card interest rates are variable interest rates. So as the Fed rate goes up, so does your credit card interest rate, right? And so, you're gonna be paying more for whatever you're buying. So just be careful with that. All right, now guys, I'm gonna close out this video. I wanna tell you guys, please be generous with the Colombian people if you are out here in Colombia, if you are visiting here to Colombia, because they have it a lot worse. If we just looking at that data that we just looked at, you could see that the inflation is kicking their ass here in Colombia. It's not as bad in the United States, and the dollar is gaining value. So on one hand, for me, like, things are more expensive, but I'm getting a little bit of cushioning because I make dollars essentially. So it's okay, but again, for the Colombian people that have no means of making dollars and they're restricted to what they can do inside this country because of immigration laws, just try to be empathetic of their situation and what's going on in the country. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Follow me on Instagram at cry.hq. Give me a like, comment, and subscribe, guys. And I'm out. Peace. What you know about inflation? Not a damn thing.